What if I told you that the people around you dislike you far more than you realize? Not just enemies, not just rivals, but friends, co-workers, even family. They may smile, nod, and act supportive, but underneath, there's something else. Resentment, jealousy, and quiet hostility. Carl Jung warned us that human beings rarely deal honestly with their negative emotions. Instead, they hide them. They repress them. And what gets buried doesn't disappear. It leaks out in subtle, destructive ways. That's why hatred often disguises itself. You don't see it directly, but you feel it. Think about it. The last time you shared good news, did someone's face tighten just a little? Did a friend disguise a jab as a joke? Did people go strangely quiet when you entered the room after a success? That wasn't your imagination. Jung explained that people often cannot tolerate what exposes their own inadequacy. And you, simply by living, remind them of everything they wish they were. Every step forward you take reminds someone else they're standing still. Every ounce of confidence you show reminds someone of their insecurity. Every risk you take makes someone else's fear impossible to ignore. And when people feel exposed, they lash out, sometimes silently, sometimes openly. This is why you're hated more than you think. And here's the paradox. The stronger you grow, the more this hate grows too. Because growth doesn't just elevate you, it reveals others. Weakness cannot stand strength. Mediocrity resents ambition. The herd despises the man who dares to walk alone. But Jung flips the narrative. Being hated is not a sign you've failed, it's a sign you're real. If no one hates you, it means you've blended in so well that you've become invisible. Hatred, in its strange and twisted way, is proof that you have weight, presence, and impact. So the real question isn't, why am I hated? The real question is, what truth about me is so threatening that others would rather despise me than face themselves? At the end of this video, you'll see hatred differently. Not as a weakness that breaks you, but as a hidden signal of your strength and a tool you can use to sharpen yourself into someone untouchable. Imagine this. You've been working hard, late nights, sacrifices, discipline. Finally, something pays off. Maybe it's a promotion, maybe you buy a car, maybe you just start looking sharper, healthier, more confident. You're excited, so you share it with the people close to you. They smile. They say, "Congratulations." They clap you on the back, but for some reason, it doesn't feel real. Their words sound hollow. Their energy is different. You notice the subtle change, the way the room goes a little colder when you speak. That uncomfortable silence that wasn't there before. And later, you catch it. Little jokes, snide comments, or friends who suddenly become too busy to see you. People you thought would be proud of you now seem distant. If this has ever happened to you, you're not imagining it. Carl Jung warned that human beings struggle to genuinely celebrate others because your success forces them to face their own shortcomings. Here's the truth. When you rise, you don't just change your life. You change the balance of every relationship around you. People who once felt equal to you now feel left behind. Friends who used to be comfortable standing next to you now feel exposed, and instead of dealing with their own inadequacy, they redirect it outward. Toward you, Jung explained that people would rather project their discomfort than confront it. That's why your progress doesn't just inspire others, it irritates them. Your discipline reminds them of their laziness. Your ambition highlights their stagnation. Your confidence exposes their fear. You become a mirror they don't want to look into. And this is where the quiet hostility begins. It rarely looks like open hatred. It looks like sarcasm. It looks like gossip. It looks like distance. People who once shared your victories suddenly act as if your victories are an insult to them. But here's the brutal reality. If you expect applause for everything you achieve, you'll always be disappointed. Most people won't give you support. They'll give you resentment disguised as politeness. And the higher you climb, the stronger it gets. Jung's lesson is clear. Don't measure your worth by how people react to you. Their reactions reveal more about them than about you. Hatred, envy, distance. These are not signs you're doing something wrong. They're signs you've begun to stand apart. Think about the last time you discovered that someone you trusted had been speaking badly about you behind your back. Maybe it was a coworker spreading rumors. Maybe it was a friend who shared your secrets. Or maybe it was family, smiling to your face but cutting you down when you weren't in the room. That moment stings because it shatters an illusion. You thought you were surrounded by support. Instead, you realize you were surrounded by masks. And Carl Jung warned us, the human psyche wears masks not only to hide from others, but to hide from itself. People pretend to admire you, but beneath that mask, resentment brews. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You can't avoid this. The more you achieve, the more masks will crack. You'll see friends distancing themselves. You'll hear whispers of envy. And you'll realize that success is often lonelier than failure, because failure makes people feel safe around you, but success makes them feel threatened. If you've felt this before, it means you're not imagining it. It means you've stepped outside the comfort zone of those around you. And if what I'm saying resonates with you, take a second right now to subscribe, not just because it helps this channel grow, but because it tells me that these truths matter to you, that you're someone who wants to see reality clearly, even when it hurts. Back to Jung. He believed that human beings often prefer to attack what challenges them rather than confront the challenge within themselves. So when they talk behind your back, it's rarely about you. It's about their refusal to face what your life reveals. You become a scapegoat for their frustration. The lesson here is to stop expecting loyalty from everyone who smiles at you. Hatred, envy, betrayal, they're not exceptions, they're the rule. And the faster you accept this, the freer you become. Because then, you stop wasting time on false friends and start building a life where you don't need their approval. Let's step back for a moment. It's easy to think of hatred as a personal thing, jealous friends, bitter co-workers, resentful family members. But Carl Jung's insight cuts much deeper than that. Hatred is not just an interpersonal issue, it's a social mechanism. Society as a whole despises the individual who refuses to conform. You've seen this play out before. Think of the kid in school who stood out. Too smart, too different, too bold. What happened to him? He wasn't celebrated. He was mocked, bullied, or pushed to the edges. Adults will tell you to be yourself. But from a young age, the group teaches you the opposite. Blend in, stay quiet, don't rise too high above the rest. Now carry that lesson into adulthood. The workplace, the social circle, even family gatherings. The moment you break from the script, when you earn more, think differently, or live in a way that unsettles others, you don't just face silent resentment. You face an unspoken law. Society will try to pull you back down. Jung observed that human beings have a herd instinct. It keeps people feeling safe, unified, predictable. But the one who steps outside the herd becomes a threat. He represents freedom, and freedom terrifies those who remain chained. Because if one man can walk away, what excuse do the rest have? His existence exposes their submission, and exposure breeds hatred. This is why societies have always punished the dissenter, the outsider, the individual who refuses to bow. Sometimes subtly, with gossip, slander, quiet isolation, sometimes brutally, with exile, imprisonment, even death. The names of history's greatest minds, Socrates, Galileo, Nietzsche, carry this same scar. Their genius was not only misunderstood, it was hated, because it unsettled the collective. But here's what makes it even more dangerous. Society doesn't always hate you openly. It uses softer weapons. Compliance is rewarded. Conformity is praised. The rebel isn't always jailed. He's quietly excluded. Invitations stop arriving. Opportunities mysteriously vanish. Smiles become colder. And before long, the individual realizes that his punishment for daring to be himself isn't a direct attack. It's isolation. Think about how this plays out today. Social media rewards conformity. Say the wrong thing and you're hated. Act differently and you're shamed. Even in your personal life, the moment you start breaking patterns, getting in shape while your friends remain lazy, pursuing discipline while others waste time, people will resist you. Not because you've wronged them, but because your existence threatens their comfort zone. And yet, here lies the brutal irony. Society secretly needs the very individuals it hates. Every advancement, every breakthrough, every truth that moved humanity forward came from someone who stood apart. Jung himself knew this. He spent much of his life alienated from colleagues, criticized for breaking away from Freud, ridiculed for pursuing ideas others dismissed. But his courage to stand alone gave the world insights still studied today. So what does this mean for you? It means that if you feel hated for being different, you're not broken, you're on the right path. The hostility you face is confirmation that you've stepped into the dangerous but necessary role of becoming an individual. Yes, it will cost you. People will turn against you. Some will gossip. Some will distance themselves. Some will quietly hope you fail. That is the price. But here is the alternative. Stay silent, stay average, stay hidden, and win the love of people whose approval is meaningless. Jung would tell you plainly, hatred is not the enemy. Conformity is. Hatred is a sign you've started to separate from the masses, that you've chosen the harder road of authenticity. And if society hates you for it, then you are exactly where you need to be. The question now becomes, how do you navigate this hostility? How do you take the hatred, the jealousy, the isolation, and turn it into fuel instead of letting it destroy you? That is what we explore next. By now, you've seen the truth. Hatred is everywhere, far more common than most people admit. It lurks in friends, in family, in co-workers, and even in strangers who will never meet you. Carl Jung observed that this hostility is not random. It's a natural reaction to anyone who dares to stand apart, anyone who refuses to conform, anyone who embodies strength, confidence, and ambition while others settle for comfort, mediocrity, or illusion. And here's the most important realization. Being hated is not a sign that you're failing. It is a sign that you are living authentically, stepping out of the herd and challenging the very system that rewards compliance and punishes individuality. Every whisper, every backhanded compliment, every subtle jab is proof that you are doing something real, something threatening to the comfort of others. Think back to all the times you've felt it. The cold distance of someone you trusted, the subtle undermining of someone you considered a friend, the bitterness masked by smiles at family gatherings. You may have felt confused, frustrated, even angry, but Jung would say that this discomfort you feel in others is a mirror. It reflects what they cannot face in themselves. You are hated because you expose the weaknesses, insecurities, and lies that they have buried within. Now, consider this. You cannot control their reaction. You cannot make everyone celebrate your success, admire your confidence, or respect your ambition. What you can control is how you respond. You can let their resentment weigh you down, or you can use it as fuel. You can let it weaken you, or you can let it strengthen you. The choice is yours. Jung believed that true individuation, the process of becoming your authentic self, requires confronting this reality. It requires embracing solitude when necessary, embracing criticism without surrendering, and embracing hatred as a signal that you are on the right path. The world does not reward authenticity. It punishes it, and only those who are willing to bear that cost achieve greatness, clarity, and freedom. So how do you turn this into power? Start by seeing hatred for what it really is. A reflection, not a weapon. Understand that envy, resentment, and hostility do not define you. They define the other person. Their words, actions, and silent judgments are symptoms of their fear, weakness, and inability to confront their own shortcomings. Recognize this, and the sting of hatred begins to fade. What remains is clarity. What remains is freedom. Next, use it. Let every sneer, every gossip, every hidden criticism push you to refine yourself, to work harder, to rise higher, to embody the kind of person who cannot be shaken by the opinions of those who cannot see their own truth. Hatred becomes your compass, pointing you toward growth, self-mastery, and influence. And finally, accept that you will be alone at times. You will walk paths that others cannot follow. You will face moments when the masses cheer silently from the sidelines while secretly wishing you fail. This is the price of standing apart, of living fully, of becoming the person Jung describes as truly individuated. Someone who cannot be contained by conformity, weak approval, or social expectation. Remember this, The people who truly matter, the ones worth keeping close, will recognize your strength without hating it. The rest will either fade away or teach you lessons in resilience. Either way, the hatred you face is never wasted. It is a map showing where your power lies and where your courage is required. You are hated more than you think, not because of who you are in a negative sense, but because of who you are in the most positive sense. Someone awake, aware, and unwilling to shrink to make others comfortable. This is the ultimate test of character. This is what separates those who live small from those who leave a mark on the world. If you take Jung's insights seriously, you stop being a victim of hostility. You stop seeking approval from those who cannot give it. You start seeing the world clearly, and in that clarity, in that refusal to bow to fear, resentment, or social pressure, you become untouchable. Hatred is not the end. It is the beginning, the signal that you are alive, you are powerful, and you are walking a path that others will never dare to take. The question is simple. Will you let it break you, or will you let it define the strength you were always meant to have?